Good good evening, good evening. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Money Coach Show here on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. I am glad that you are here and joining us this evening. It's so funny as I was coming on. Yeah, come on in, y'all. Come on in. Come on into to our living room. Come on into the Real Money Coach Show. Put in the chat where you are watching from, what part of the country, what part of the world that you might be watching from. And we are excited to have you here this evening. Make sure you put it in the chat. If you can hear me, put where you're located at. We want to make sure that you do that in the chat. I haven't seen anyone check in yet, so y'all go ahead and check in. We're waiting on you. But as we were coming on and that song played again, it just reminded me of this summer. All right, we got Columbia, South Carolina. I bet that is my sister in love. I would be my guest. So anyway, we were doing this financial literacy class, and it was for like third, fourth, and fifth year olds, right? And Kimberly, thank you for being here. And so I had to call in backup, right? Because I don't normally work with children. So I had to call in backup. Hey, Charles, you know I'm grandpa. You better know it. All right. Michelle, you got a book. I got it too. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. And so we were doing this class. And so it's third and fourth graders, third, fourth, fifth graders. So I had to call in a real professional. So I called in my daughter, Adri. Adri, come on in and help me teach these kids financial literacy, and it went well. But what I really thought about when he was playing that cha-ching is one of the little boys said, "My mom watches your show," and I love the part when it says cha-ching, and so it made me think about that in the little kid. And so thank you. We got Miss Durham from Maryland. We got Pablo from California. Listen, we got couple California people in on the line. We got Maryland. So we're going from coast to coast tonight, and I absolutely love it. So I have to do this. I have to do this. Charles mentioned Grandpa. As y'all know, I've been talking about my little new grandson. He's 3 weeks old. But today I want to give a shout out to my son, Tony, TJ, his father. And today is his birthday. So I want to shout out happy birthday to TJ. Joan, thank you for being here. There we go. Dante, you my man. He always got something. I was actually going to try to pull up Tony's Facebook page and pull his post up, because then I could have showed you Tony, and on the slide, I could have just showed you another picture of the grandson as well. So that's what I was trying to do. I didn't get it to work, but before this thing is over, I might get that thing to work where I can share that. And so very proud of Tony, very proud to have the Trey the third, Tony the third. So that's lineage, that's legacy, like so. Just very happy about that, and very happy about our guest tonight. We have a wonderful guest that will be with us, Dr. Robyn Joppy. You will definitely get something out of tonight. I think you will be both informed and inspired, which is what we try to do here on the Real Money Coach. Which let me do this real quick before I bring Michelle on. Is remind you that the real in the Real Money Coach is an acronym, and the acronym stands for relevant, educational, actionable, and life changing. And that's the type of information we want to bring on every Tuesday night, and also through the radio on Saturday mornings, and also through the podcast, YouTube, and all those things that we do, is to bring information that is very relevant to your life, that is educational, actionable, and life changing. And sometimes what we need is we need to be inspired by others' story. And what I found just in through the grace of God and being connected with a lot of different people is that there's so many wonderful stories of triumph. There's so many wonderful stories of people who've overcome circumstances and obstacles to be successful. And there's, of course, a lot of different definitions of what successful is. I mean, you have to determine what that means to you. But I love the fact that there's so many out there and their stories. They come on and they're transparent and they share their stories on the radio. They share their stories here on Facebook Live for all who's watching to see. And so I'm very appreciative of that. So I do want to mention this coming weekend, I will be in Atlanta at the Atlanta Marriott Marquis for the All Black National Conference hosted by Dr. Boyce Watkins. Just a wonderful lineup of speakers. We'll walk away from there enriched for sure. My particular workshop, which will be based on the book, Increase, Protect, and Dominate Your Money, will take place at 1:55 on Saturday afternoon. And so if you happen to be at that conference, there's also virtual tickets available and all those types of things. So if you want to get engaged in that, just go to the All Black National Convention.com. You can get all that information. You can certainly send me an email, and just looking forward to it. Looking forward to sharing what I do and also learning from others. And speaking of learning from others, I want to bring on my co-host tonight. You guys know her. She's here each and every week for going on 2.5 years, right? After sitting in. Well, I'll tell the story when she comes in. Let's bring Michelle Mitchell Consulting on. Michelle, how are you doing? You the real MVP. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about.
That's hilarious.
What? The real MVP. Listen, so sometimes these things happen, right? So Dr. Frazier always talks about this Thursday night Generational Wealth Alliance that he, myself, and Janice Leak host every Thursday at 7. Mm-hmm. And he says, initially I came on and I asked Tony if he would do a couple lessons on financial literacy. And so 2 years later, I'm still there.
Right.
That sound familiar?
Sounds familiar. Sounds familiar.
You were coming in to sub in for Marlon.
Yep.
For a couple weeks.
Yep.
And that was 2.5 years ago, and we still going strong.
2.5 years ago.
2 years ago. Now your bestie, my wife, says,
mm-hmm.
well, you and Michelle just got great chemistry, so it just works. Y'all balance each other out and all this. So if y'all think me and Michelle balance each other out, just let us know in the chat. If you think we got a good mix here, let us know what you think about. I don't see a regular. I didn't see any of the regulars checking in.
I know where they at.
Yeah, I don't know where they at. Where they at tonight, Michelle? Yeah. So Michelle, I know you had a really exciting week here. Maybe not last week, but the week before.
The week before.
Mm-hmm. So you want to tell us a little bit about what you were doing and a little bit about that conference that you were in at Houston?
Yeah. I'll tell you a little bit about. So first off, thank you, Tony Jackson, for the Real Money Coach show, because I met Tony Harris Taylor. She was a guest on the Real Money Coach show last year, right?
Yep.
So it was last year, probably about this time of year, I think. And she was talking about, networking. And, I know networking works. I do know it works, but it's not my favorite thing to do.
Got you.
So because she was on the show and one of her things is, connecting with people and like putting a date on the calendar. So we put a date on the calendar and I met with her. And she talked to me about her networking organization, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't do that. Thank you, but no, thank you, So, she was gracious and she was like, okay, you do you, and then she introduced me to someone else who was starting a new group and it was virtual. And her name is Sherry. And Sherry and I just hit it off like we were sisters.
Okay.
So Sherry,
in the DMV, is that the Sherry?
She lives in the DMV. Yeah, she lives in Baltimore.
Okay, got you.
She lives in Baltimore, and Sherry and I got to know each other a little bit, and then she found out that Tony was looking for sponsors for her conference that was going to be this fall, and she suggested me to Tony.
Okay.
And then, of course, Tony reached out and she was like, "Oh, yeah, Michelle. Yes, she would be great." So I did it. I did the sponsorship. And I just want to say, guys, like if you have a business or you want to get your name out there, sometimes it takes, like what Tony would say, a drastic step,
Mm-hmm.
because being a sponsor means that you have to lay out cash, right?
Right.
In order to become a sponsor. So I became a sponsor. I had a table at the conference and I got all of these perks of being at the conference, but also I was able to um, be on stage and teach for 30 minutes,
Mm.
all focused on me. And that actually was my first time being on a stage teaching to that many people. Usually I'm in a classroom or something like that,
Right.
but
Right. The
being
classroom
on a stage,
settings are
it's,
different.
yeah,
Yeah.
the setting was a bit different. And it was an amazing experience. It was a bunch of engaged people and I shared my heart, like, and I
Mm.
normally don't. But I leaned in. She was like, "Share your story." So I shared my story and then I taught my lesson and tied it back together. And it was just so impactful. And people were just coming up to me afterwards talking about how amazing, it was. And it was very practical things that you can do in your business to help your cash flow. So that was an amazing experience in itself. But one of the perks of being a sponsor was that I was able to be in a collaboration book. So I'm an author, y'all.
I love it.
So who
I
out
love
there
it.
said that they bought them? So many people bought the book that I know.
Yeah.
Yay. So
Yeah.
I'm so excited for the support and just, Tony opening her arms and, creating the space. So if you
Right.
haven't gotten your book, you can go to Amazon and get your book. We did make the Amazon uh
Awesome.
bestsellers list. Yes, we were number 1 on the day of the launch. So thank you everyone who contributed to purchasing the book. I do appreciate it. And this is not my last book. This is not the last one. So I was telling you, Tony, I'm going to Denver tomorrow to focus on my strategic plan for 2024. And
Got it.
in my strategic plan will be creating space so that I can write a book.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Michelle, I'm so proud of you. And just how you just kind of took that situation, you made it your own.
Yeah.
And I was really kind of happy to have been a part of just introducing you to Tony. And because you've given so much to the show. I mean,
Mhm.
because obviously we do this, we don't get paid,
Right.
all these type of things. We do it because we want to get great information out.
Mhm.
But to see that, and I did buy my copy on
Yay.
the Kindle, but I do want my hard copy with
Yes,
an autograph
I will
on it.
get you a signed hard copy.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Right. So thank you all those who did participate. I
Yes.
saw earlier Charles mentioned he had the book, and
Yay.
so I think that's wonderful. I do want to give a couple people that said hello. Pam Jackson from New Jersey, no relation that I'm aware of. And then Kimberly McGuinn, thank you. She said, love you both, right? Kimberly, you so
Oh.
sweet. And so, yeah, so it's pretty awesome. So I was really pumped as I was watching it unfold on Facebook. And your ears might have been burning today because I was having a conversation with your big brother.
Aw.
Um, and just I think you're inspiring a lot of people, and
Yeah.
people don't know. And when you can get out of your comfort zone, right?
Yes.
There's great things that can happen. For
That's
some
true.
people, speaking and being in front of people that's just what they do. But when it's your and as you mentioned, teaching and speaking is two different.
Yes.
There's two different things, right?
Mhm.
And but there is some teaching in the speaking as well.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
we always talk about that with preaching, right? Then
Yeah.
preaching and teaching is two different things,
Mhm.
but there is some teaching in preaching.
Yes.
And then if you teach like I teach, there's some preaching in your teaching.
Teaching,
And
right.
so it all flows together, right?
Exactly.
So and so that's wonderful. So
Yeah,
very
so
awesome.
great things can happen when you step outside of your comfort zone, because I am not the out front person. That's not who I am. I'm quiet, I'm reserved, I'm to myself, I'm an introvert, but I took this challenge and it changed my life. Like, seriously.
And that's true, because when I first met you as freshmen
Yeah.
at Western Michigan University, you ain't talked to nobody.
Nobody. I ain't talking to you. I don't know you. I don't know you. So Tony Jackson kept after me like he was trying to date me, but he wasn't.
Like, you got to come to this
Yeah,
meeting.
you gotta come. You gotta
come to this meeting. You got to come to this NABA meeting. You got to come to the National Association of Black Accountants. You got to be a part of this.
He was
So I was
on me,
recruiting
guys, for like
heavy.
2 years.
I was
And I
recruiting
never
heavy.
came.
Yep.
You
And
were.
then you came, and it's been life changing, right?
It was life changing. Stepping outside of your comfort zone. Yes.
Well, one of the things I just want to touch on really quick before we bring our guests on tonight is you mentioned going to Denver, right? So going to Denver to you do your strategic planning.
Yes.
I think that's so important, because a lot of business owners don't take the time.
Yep.
And if you're not planning for next year now,
yes,
you're already behind, right?
You're behind.
and tell me why you decided just to get away. I mean, you get away, you live in Kalamazoo, you're going to go all the way to Denver,
yes,
to do this. Why?
So there's a group of people. We're all going to Denver to work on our strategic plan. One is a way to get around like-minded people. Two, it gets me away so that I don't have any distractions.
Got it. Yeah.
And I can focus on what I need to accomplish while I'm away.
Yeah.
So I probably won't have a full plan, but I will have my high level objectives defined by the time I get home. And then it's just putting in the action steps and timelines for how we're going to reach.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that out because, and let me just say this to folks who are listening. This works not only just if you're a business owner,
correct,
but also even in your personal life.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you believe in New Year's resolutions, that's all that. I mean, if that's your thing, but it's about putting a plan together for 2024, right?
Yeah.
What's going to be the goals?
Yeah.
And, write the vision, make it plain.
Write the vision and make it plain.
All that great stuff. So, well, listen, we have a super person tonight, Dr. Robyn Joppy. She's a serial entrepreneur. Okay. And I'll tell you, when I say serial entrepreneur, I mean serial entrepreneur, Michelle.
I don't know how to sign the Kindle.
You ask Michelle, how do you sign a Kindle copy, right? If you figure out an electronic way to do that, let me know. But Dr. Robyn Dr. Robyn is such. And until she came, we served on some boards, and I'd heard her name a lot before, and then we ended up serving on a board together. Our Legacy Foundation. Shout out to Kim Davy Smith for starting that organization, nonprofit. And so I got a glimpse of who she was, in terms of a leader, as the chairman of that chairperson of that board. But when she came to the studio and I started interviewing her, I just didn't realize how impactful and international she really was, right? So I walked away from that interview thoroughly impressed. She launched the largest virtual hair, beauty, wellness trade show of its kind. International Shades of Beauty. I'm not going to take away from the story. I want her to come in and tell the story of it. And so without any further ado, let's bring Dr. Robyn Joppy on the stage.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hey, beautiful people.
Yeah, we got some wonderful people that are watching, some of your folks that are watching. Hey. And so, Dr. Robyn, wow. And I was so glad that our schedules were in such that you were in Charlotte last week and could come by the radio station. We had a great time interviewing, and I want to just say hello to Apostle Donna, who was accompanying you. What a powerful woman of God she is, and I'm still receiving it. I tell her I'm still receiving
it.
I'm receiving it. So, but just for our audience tonight, would you just mind just kind of give a little background and who you are, where you grew up, and how you got to where you are, and then we'll start unpacking some of these things that you got going.
Wow. All right. So I'm born and raised in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, little podunk town that happens to be the capital city, believe it or not. So when I'm traveling and I say people say, where are you from? And I say Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, they look at me. And so it's easier to say Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. They can relate to that. Right. And so I say capital city. They don't know, but I'm in the capital city. I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. That's where I'm born and raised. Had phenomenal parents, of course, growing up. And after I left high school and went off into the world, I went to Syracuse University undergrad. And as Tony found out while I was in the studio recording with him, I am also, I'm a serial entrepreneur, but also a serial learner. I love education. So I say right, Michelle?
Yes.
We love to learn. So I'll probably be 200 years old and still in somebody's school, right?
Yeah.
So Syracuse University undergrad, and then I went to Penn State University grad, and then George Washington University grad, and I ended up at Drexel University in Philadelphia, and that's where I got my did my doctoral studies. So yes, so I did that, and as I thought I would be obedient to mom and dad. I got good grades, and as they say, go off to college and study hard, and you come out, you get that great job, you move up, through the corporate ladder, and you can be whatever you want to be and do whatever you want to do. Success is in your hands. It's up to you. Mm-hmm. And so I took their advice and I did just that. Went up the corporate ladder, worked for several companies, and ended up in 2016. Is this okay, Tony? I'm on the fast track. I'm just
go ahead.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
I can talk and I can tell the story.
Tell the story.
I can tell the story, but I'm gonna give y'all a brief overview. So I ended up leaving corporate America in 2016 and started my first business was One Accord Consulting Firm. And then one turned into two, and two turned into three, and three turned into four, and here we are. So that's Dr. Robyn.
That's Dr. Robyn. And I thought it was very interesting to One Accord Consulting Services. If you would mind sharing a little bit about how you got your first client, because I thought it was kind of amazing.
Sure. So as I worked my way up and found really my niche in corporate America, it's in the realm of compliance and integrity. Mm-hmm. That's where I really found my place, and ended up being the senior vice president of corporate compliance and integrity for an international company. Became an officer of the company, and then ended up when I left. That was the last position I had, and when I ended up leaving that company, I started my own. And a gentleman who I used to call in, his consulting firm would come in and audit different departments. Anybody that's in corporate America, you have to have external auditors come in every so often, right? Yeah. And so it was his company that I would engage to come in. Mm-hmm. And so I would say, as God would have it, because he doesn't make mistakes, as God would have it, he had this gentleman contact me. It was like 3 days after I left. And he said, I've been trying to call you. I called the company and they said you were no longer with them. Your ear should have been burning. I have a situation, and it's an area where it was a specialty area that my department handled. And so he said, I need your help. That turned into a contract for me. The guy that I engaged, who would come in for years and audit our departments and our services, end up hiring me to help them. And so I had an opportunity to continue doing work for his company and lawyers, and it was word of mouth. And I never had to go after a contract because one turned
Wow.
into another, and was word of mouth. Yeah,
Well,
so
you know, God will do it. And if
he'll
you're
do it.
excellent at what you do, you make it easy for God, right? You make it
Right.
easy for him to say, here, I'll bless you with these clients. But I thought that was pretty amazing.
That's how we
Um,
started One Accord. That's how it started.
that's how it all started.
Why don't
And so then I know, because it's a little bit tied to this, before we get into one of the things I know you for, is you also wrote a book in the area of compliance and ethics.
Right. So that book became a work of passion. You know, I've had years in the compliance industry and working in various capacities, different organizations, if you will. And boy, oh boy, I could probably do a great movie with some of
Mhm.
the experiences. The stuff that people do is unbelievable. The stuff that companies do is unbelievable. And sometimes it's intentional, and other times it can be non-intentional. You don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
But my goodness, when you do know and you choose to do the wrong thing, you know,
Mm.
and just
Yeah.
the story. So I decided to write the book to help to be of service really, and to help organizations. And it's a little bit in there for everybody, because I also consult with faith-based organizations, with entrepreneurs, be Fortune 500, 200, with governmental entities. And so there's something in there for everyone, and especially if you're getting funding from the government on any
Mm.
level. And you know, they give you money, they tell you what to do with that
Mhm.
money and
Right.
documentation, right?
Compliance
And
and all
so you better do what they tell you to do. Right? If it's not
right.
documented, y'all, what? This is 101. If it's
Right.
not documented, Tony, it
It
never
don't
happened,
exist.
right?
It
It don't
never
exist.
happened.
It
Right.
never is. Right.
So we
Yeah.
got to make sure that you keep the money, that you keep the money if you're doing what they told you to do. So yeah,
Well, you know, and I think that's awesome. And the book is called "Integrity Matters. Be Your Word," right?
right.
And so
Mhm.
that's a great title, and we'll have that scrolling on the screen now, along with your contact information. But you know, I think that's pretty good. And you know, I think about integrity and ethics, and you being a woman of faith, how
Mhm.
that all can just really kind of seamlessly work together.
Right.
So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So now I want to switch over to this thrilling story of how International Shades of Beauty
Mhm.
started.
Mhm.
And I think that's where I kind of knew you from, because of just having um, some not some loose interaction, we'll put it that way, with some acquaintances. I've been
Mhm.
in Dr. Excuse me, Dudley, Joe Dudley's
Dr.
presence.
Joel Dudley.
Yeah,
That's
I've
my
been in his
mentor.
presence a
He's one
couple
of my
times.
mentors.
I
Mhm.
think I was at his 80th birthday party,
Mhm.
and you probably were there. I probably never met you, but and so I've been around him a couple times and heard him speak a couple times. And I think in that circle is where maybe I heard your name.
Mhm.
And so I've kind of always associated you with the International Shades of Beauty, even
Mhm.
though I didn't really know what International Shades of Beauty was.
Mhm.
And so now I would love for you to share that story with us, with our audience tonight, because I think it's again a testament of faith and how God will put things together. If you don't mind just kind of running through that.
Right. Absolutely. So let's start back in 2018. I went to Dubai on a business trip. And so I get to, let me just back up. I'm going to Dubai on a business trip. Now, y'all might not be able to see it, but I have super, super, super sensitive skin. Okay. If I think pimple, I'm going to get one. Okay. I'm going to be 200. I'm going to be 200 years old, and I'm going to have some pimples. And so I have to use certain products. I'm very sensitive. I have to use certain products on my skin, on my body, because it don't like everything. I mean, it just don't like everything. So I purchased these products as I knew I was going to be away for a while. I'm in New York. I'm going to catch my flight, get up to, check in. And as fate always has it with me, I don't know why. I promise y'all, I pack smaller and smaller, but I'm always overweight. I don't get it. And so the guy is like, you're going to have to take something out or you're going to pay. It was like $250, $200. I'm like, I'm not paying another dime. This is crazy. The bag is small. I don't get it. He said, you want to miss your flight? You better hurry up. So I take stuff out of the suitcase and put it in a carry-on. What did I take out? I took out the products that I just purchased, right? Get to security. What did they do? They confiscated my stuff. Why? Because it was industrial size. It wasn't the travel size. All the money I just spent. Fine. I get to Dubai and I tell the driver, I need you to take me to the mall or, so I can get these products for my skin. And if you've been to Michelle, have you been to Dubai? Tony told me he hasn't been. You haven't been?
Not.
I haven't been to Dubai yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We'll probably go together.
That's going to be on your vision board for 2025. Y'all going to Dubai.
We going to Dubai, Tony Jackson. Tell Elisa.
Tell your friend we going to Dubai.
When she graduates, Dubai.
Dubai, that's where y'all going. Yeah. So get to Dubai. I'm looking. And if you've been, once you go, you'll see anything and everything you want is there. They have creme de grape, grape, everything. But we can't find products for my skin type. And I read the back of everything because of my allergies and because of this crazy stuff that goes on with me. Everything that I saw had skin whitening and skin brightening agents in it, which has carcinogens and all that, which is not good because that's the cancer causing stuff. And so that's when my journey began. And so I started talking to expats who were in the country. I'm like, that look like us, look like me. What do you do? What are y'all doing for your skin? And started interviewing them, questioning them. A lot of them didn't even pay attention to what was in the products, right? And so let's just fast forward. While I was at the conference, I was getting ready actually one morning, and the Lord spoke to me and told me that I needed to speak to someone who was at this conference. And he gave me 3 questions to ask. And I'm like, I don't know her. And I'm having this conversation as I'm getting dressed. And if God talks to y'all like that, you can say amen, because I'm telling you, it's how he does me. Right. And so I'm like, what? And so he was like, I want you to go up to her and I want you to ask her these 3 questions. She'll know what she'll know. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going to think I'm crazy. She's just going to think I'm crazy. So I obey because I know his voice and I know when he's really talking, I know that it's him. So I go up to her, exchange pleasantries, introduce myself. And I told her, I said, I don't want you to think I'm crazy. I'm really not. But I need to ask you these questions. And she's looking at me and she's smiling. And I asked her the 3 questions and the tears just began to fall. And she was like, how would you know that? And so long story short, a year after that, International Shades of Beauty was launched in Dubai.
Wow.
She is a in the beauty industry. She made wigs. She is from the US, but ended up going there, did a training on making wigs, doing things with hair, and ended up staying in a beautiful, fabulous salon. Her business just boomed. But I'll just say this. The questions that he had me ask her was an interest that she had for years and wanted to do and just didn't know what to do. So,
wow.
Yeah. So we launched in 2019 in Dubai.
Well, I think that's just pretty amazing.
It's pretty amazing. He's very amazing.
Halfway around the world, right? And
yeah.
God just drops this on your lap. And in the chat, we have your line sister, Dr. Michelle Walker Davis.
Hey, Stan!
It's such a small world.
Right.
Because,
and watch this. Dr. Michelle was supposed to go with me to Dubai. She was coming to the launch, but unfortunately, her father was very ill at the time, and she couldn't go. He had eventually, unfortunately, had passed away. And so she couldn't, hey, sis, she and her sister were coming and couldn't go, but she was going to be there with me at the launch.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's just pretty awesome. Just not only, that you get this brilliant idea, but then you go back to launch it. And you're talking about taking, Michelle, you were a little earlier talking about Tony's book about taking drastic steps.
Yes.
I mean, that to me seems drastic.
Drastic.
So how did you? I just kind of, what was your thought process in that, just to go back there to launch, instead of someplace where you're like comfortable. I mean, you can launch in California, New York, anywhere, right, but to do Dubai. And then tell us what is the mission, what is the passion about International Shades of Beauty?
Well, to answer your first question, why Dubai? Because God told me, and I'll say the reason why is because I believe years before then, because I had been to Dubai several times before 2018. I think that was like my, I don't know, maybe 6th trip there. I had been there, 6, 7, I can't even remember. And I had been there, and I can remember walking down the streets in Dubai, and I said, one day I'm going to do business here. Like, I just absolutely, and you'll see when you go. I mean, now it's becoming, it's a little more commercialized, I think, in Dubai. Maybe when you go to Abu Dhabi and some of the other places that are a little bit more conservative and reserved. But when I first started going to Dubai, you had to really walk the straight and narrow. I mean, it was nice and all that stuff. The dress, you had to be very, very conservative. And, the last times I was there, they're allowing other things, some of this Western culture. So I'm noticing the changes that's happening. But I think that's the reason why, because I spoke it. When I was there before, and said, one day I'm going to do business here. And it happened. And so the passion for International Shades of Beauty still continues to evolve. It started out with, these people are using products and don't even understand what's going on with these, with what they're doing, putting on their bodies. Wonder what's happening in their bodies. If they're not paying attention what they're putting on, what's happening with what's going inside.
Right.
And so as I continue to talk to people and interview people, it became an obsession with me, which is usually what happens when I get an assignment from God. I become obsessed with it. I'm up in the middle of the night doing research and looking. I can't let it go. And so, one thing led to the next. It's the skin, it's the hair, it's the makeup, because I'm not finding things for people of color. And then I'm like, well, all shades matter, because when you're in Dubai and in the Middle East, and I had been going to the Middle East for years, you're seeing all colors, all shades. And then my mind starts thinking like back here in the US, all shades, all colors. And we see designers and, people making products, product makers who make products and make fashion, and we consume our culture, our race. Look how much money we put into hair, and nails and makeup and clothes, but yet we're not at the table. We're not always considered when they're making these products. Right. And so I'm like, I wanted to use the platform as a voice to say, hey, to some of these, product makers and skincare makers, like, remember us. Right. We're here. I always shout out Rihanna and Fenty Makeup. She got it right when she launched. When she first launched, if y'all remember, it was 40 different shades of foundation. Prior to that, I'm going to date myself, y'all. But I can remember coming up. Remember the big fashion fair? Maybe y'all might be too young. I don't know. Y'all remember some of them fashion shows? And fashion fair, they were very limited. I mean, this is makeup that they made for us, and it made you look orange.
Yes.
You know, if you didn't know how to blend and do that stuff.
Yes.
So, you know, having all shades being represented from the darkest of dark to the lightest of light and everything in between is amazing, because that's saying you care about all skin tones and all shades mattering. And so that's the platform that I stand on as I'm traveling around the world. Every opportunity I get, I talk about all shades mattering.
Yeah, that is awesome.
That reminds me of a documentary on Netflix right now.
Yes.
Black Beauty, right?
Black Beauty, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's very, very interesting, you know, to hear from our perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I need to check that out. I haven't seen that yet.
Yes.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, check it out. It's good.
So Dr. Robyn, I want to just kind of, there has to be, or maybe not. There are challenges of being like an international businesswoman, particularly in a lot of countries, including our own sometimes, right? That don't necessarily respect, you know, women, certainly not women of color. What has that been like throughout your career and as a business entrepreneur, dealing with some of those things?
How much time do we have? How much time do we have? Right. So I'll say this. The United States is different than when I travel internationally.
Okay.
Believe it or not, the respect is better overseas than it is here in the US. When I'm dealing with men in India and men in the Middle East and men in China, because I have this DR in front of my name, for some reason,
it gives you
when
credit.
right, Michelle?
Yeah.
Overseas, they respect that.
Mm-hmm.
They respect that. I can remember before I got the letters and I was there, you know, I had a master's degree and all that, and I was doing business, still working in corporate. They like to challenge you. You know, the challenge was there. It was different. But once they saw DR opens up doors for women.
Yeah.
Here in the US.
Don't tell me that.
Girl,
Michelle gonna be in school next week.
You better sign up. You better go ahead and enroll in a good old school, a good old doctoral program. Get your
because girlfriend's sitting on 2 master's degrees.
You better go ahead to the next. I'm telling you, in all sincerity, I'm serious. They roll out the red carpet. They roll out the red carpet. I mean, the doors just open, because what I find is outside of the US, other countries and cultures, you can see how they pour into their children. Yes. Education is so valuable to them. They don't play games. That's why they are speaking multiple languages.
Yeah.
Right? That's why they're into STEM. Their children are so much more advanced. They value education. So the fact that you can obtain that status of doctor, they respect. It's a respect factor for them, and so they appreciate you more because of it. Here in the US,
that's interesting.
So in the
US,
you
get it, you get it
right past that doctor, right?
Right.
Here in the US, and then we have so many, like here in the US.
Yeah.
Every other person now, whether or not they earned it, bought it got it from a diploma mill, because they got all kind of tricks.
You get the doctorate, no, absolutely. But when you earned them letters,
I earned every last one of them.
That's good.
Yes.
So I mean, we're winding down here a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit about your work on the continent, because I have two places I want to go on my bucket list. Dubai's one of them, and the other is I have not been to the African continent yet. And so talk to us a little bit about the work that you're doing there and what's to come.
Woo, wow. So in Africa, it's amazing. Let me just say this, you know, I always wonder, and I ask God, where am I going next? What are you having me do next?
Mhm.
And so when I got the assignment for Africa, when I was told I was going there, I had I'll say my spiritual mother tell me, it's very prophetic, very anointed woman of God. And she told me that my next assignment, I was like, what? And I'm like, God wouldn't do that to me. Because I just, I've worked in corporate with people from the continent, and in no way, shape, or form do I want anyone to think that I'm being discriminatory or anything. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm speaking from my experience. I'm like, ooh, they wear me out. And this is from my compliance and ethics. I'm like, ooh, they wear me. I cannot. I cannot. And so when I heard the Lord say that I had to go to Ghana back in 2020, International Shades of Beauty was booked to go to Ghana for a week, and then we were taking the show to Kenya. 2019, we launched in Dubai. 2020, we were booked to go to Ghana and then to Kenya. But the pandemic happened. And so we had to cancel our trip. And that's when we did the virtual show, and it ended up the largest virtual hair, beauty, fashion, wellness show of its kind. We made history doing that show. I was ready to cancel, and the Lord said no. And I had never in my life done anything like that. Virtually, how do you do that? But it worked. And so thank God for that. But I ended up continuing relationships and collabs with people in Ghana, in Kenya. We ended up doing a project with orphanages in Kenya through my nonprofit project Cultivate. And then with Ghana, ended up doing a collab with another organization that serves women, particularly in business and in government. And so we've done projects together. And so the work continues. And so I'm also, and I did share with Tony, and Tony got to try it. I'm not ready to launch that just yet. We're going to, but we got something fabulous that's been in the works for 3 years, right, Tony?
It was fabulous. I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
I need your address. You gotta give me the address.
I'm gonna send you my address because my wife has got to try.
You gotta try, right?
This cream. You gotta try it out. You gotta try it out. I'm not gonna say no more. I'm not gonna say anymore. But I got a little.
He tried it.
And so for me, a man, and I'm not all that into. I mean, it was great. So I'm waiting for. I will send you.
But men use, and they love it. We tested it in the marketplace, and I know y'all probably like those listen like, what you talking about? What you talking about? You won't find out real soon. So I have a partner, business partner in Ghana who is like a sister. She is a sister. We say we're sisters from another mister, and we've been working now. It's really 4 years. This has been in the works. And it has been a journey, a process, but God called it, He said it, and we just kept working and doing it, and we ready. So I'm just so grateful to Him. And so the work continues in Ghana. I've met some phenomenal people there. There's so much work to be done there. I'm involved in several groups and organizations who are trying to really help the continent at large. I'm saying Ghana, but we know Africa has many countries. It's so many. There's so many, even to the point, you all, that you can become a citizen of Ghana right now and of Kenya. And if you become a citizen of Ghana, you can, with the way they're doing it now, that paperwork will actually open the door for you to enter in and go in and out of 22 other Western countries. And for me, and for the things that God has called me to do, that's going to make my life very, 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 it'll make me happy. You don't have to go through all the paperwork.
And all that. Yeah.
Right. And so the doors are just opening for Africa. There's a lot of companies going there to try to help them build infrastructure, because believe it or not, there's a lot of money in Africa. Contrary to what we hear and what we know,
or what they want us to believe,
there's
right? What they
want us to believe.
Yeah,
you're
there's
right.
a whole conspiracy about keeping Africa poor, right?
Right.
There's a conspiracy about that whole thing, and you can watch some of that. So Dr. Robyn, I'd like to do this because one of the things that I'm impressed with is so often people don't infuse their faith in their work, their business, and I've heard you repeatedly say, listening to God and just talk to us a little, just say something about faith in business and just give us a little bit of Robyn on that.
Wow. How much time do we have? I
know that's loaded.
Oh, that's a loaded one. Let me just cut to the chase. Let me just say this. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. Let me tell you something. My faith in God is everything. If I did not have him, I don't know where I would be. I don't know how people live, y'all, and make it every day, especially entrepreneurs. Right?
Yeah.
Because we know, I don't care how tight you are with God, at some point, you're going to be tested. Right? At some point, you're going to be in a valley. You're going to have valley experiences.
Absolutely.
And you're going to have mountaintop. And you're going to have both. And you understand that everybody take a turn.
Yeah.
You're going to be in the valley again and again. It might be for a different experience, but you're going to be there. Entrepreneurship definitely comes with ebbs and flows. And you have
it's a faith walk.
It is a faith walk.
Entrepreneur is a faith walk.
It is.
Absolutely.
It really is.
At its essence, that's what it is.
It is. And so if I didn't know him, if I didn't hear him, if I didn't live and walk by faith, I would have given up. I've been back out there trying to be working for somebody, for somebody else, being miserable, right?
Yeah, but that's easier. It's easier.
It is.
It's easier, but you'll be miserable when you're not doing, you're walking in your purpose. See, that's the thing. You got to walk in your purpose, because one of the things that I shared with Tony when I was in Charlotte with him is, purpose is everything. You have to live and walk in your purpose.
Right.
And you gotta know what that is.
Yeah.
You can work. I can certainly go and work for, let me tell you, I get calls to come work in corporate America and do things. I can't imagine myself going back into an office and dealing with all those people. I just,
you make it sound like it's like going back to Egypt.
It would be going back to Egypt. That's a great analogy, Tony. That's a great analogy. It would be me going back to Egypt when God delivered me.
It's bondage.
Yes. I love compliance. It's the core of everything. And I should say it's more about integrity and ethics. The Bible mentions integrity, I want to say like 44 times. So we know that it meant something and means something to God, right? And so it's the foundation of everything that I do. Because people say, how do you end up in the beauty industry? You're in the compliance and integrity industry. You got this nonprofit. You're doing, pros management, a business management company. Like, how are they connected? It's like, it's this, and the other. I said, there is a common thread in this integrity. Integrity is in everything that I do.
Yeah.
And so that's the common thread. But I couldn't do it, Tony, without him. So that's how.
That's a great testament. That's a great testimony for sure. And to see how successful you've been and how it's all worked together. It just reminds me of that word, right? All things work together.
All things work together.
right? The good, the bad, the ugly, the challenges, the great times, the valley experiences, all of it works together for those who love God and are called according to what?
His work.
His
purpose.
His purpose.
His purpose. And so that comes that purpose piece again, right? Called according to his purpose. And there's only one way to know his purpose for us, and that's to get to know him and to have an intimate relationship. And what you're doing, Michelle, on a very practical sense, is to get away. Sometimes we got to get away from all the noise.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. So that we can work on that purpose and hear from God.
Because you got to hear. And actually, I'm going tomorrow, but like he been talking to me for the last like 3 weeks. Like I've been very like Zen-like for the last 3 weeks. No joke. It's unbelievable.
So, well, Dr. Robyn, man, I'm just so thankful that you took the time. I know you're busy. Just by all the different businesses you have and everything that's going to. You took the time, one, when you were here to come by the radio station, and then to spend this hour with us this evening it's just been, it's been a real treat. So any last words you'd like to leave? And Michelle, I'll let you have some last words and we'll close it on down.
I just want to say thank you to both of you for having me. Of course, it's been an absolute pleasure. I love what you're doing, just the education piece and, money. People quote that scripture wrong. They say money is evil, and that's not it. It's the love of money is the root of all evil. Money's not evil. We're supposed to have money, and we're supposed to live and walk in abundance, right? That's God's will. I love the messages that you give. I love how you're educating and what you're doing for our community, And so leaving legacy is everything. We talk about leaving legacy. How do you do that? And so, I saw that one and I missed it because I have a prior commitment every week, the same time you're on. And that's about to come to a close, though. So I'll be able to jump on and watch this every Tuesday. But, I saw that Kaizen, you was doing that Kaizen that I heard about that from someone else. I'll be reading and researching. But I love that, just that alone, just the education piece. I love what you're doing. Hold your book up again, Michelle, because I want to make sure that I get that book. I love it. Purpose, People, and Profits. I can't wait to buy that book and get it. It's just that alone, that type of information for us is just amazing. And so I just want to tell the people, you'll see visionary attached to my title. And I am a visionary. God definitely created me to be a visionary. I dream. If you could see, there's a sign here in my office on the shelf. When my mother was, my late mother would always say to me as a little girl, dream big, baby, have big dreams. If you want to dream big.
Dream big.
I have big dreams. God, when I tell you these dreams are big, these dreams are unbelievable. They're out of control. But I'm watching God. I'm watching God move in my life from these humongous dreams that I just, they're God when they're bigger than you can even imagine. So to the people out there who are watching tonight, follow. If you're on here because of me, I'm telling you to follow the Real Money Coach. Follow Michelle. Follow them and get the information that you need to bring yourself up out of poverty, if that's what you're in, out of lack, if that's what you're in, and get to the money. Get to the money.
We always talk about get to the bag, right?
Get to the bag. Get to the bag. I'm still trying to figure that out. I want to get to the money. I know about that bag because the bag is confined. You can only put so much money in a bag,
right?
Yeah. I want to get to the money without any constraints. Okay.
Any constraints.
That's what I'm talking about.
But continue dreaming. Continue to dream. Dare to dream. As my mentor said, Dr. Joe L. Dudley, of Dudley products. Y'all know Mr. Dudley and the Dudley products. He told me, don't ever let money be a reason why I don't walk in my purpose. Don't ever let money be a reason why I don't fulfill my dreams and vision, because it goes back to what my mother and father would tell me. And the word says, where there's vision,
there
it is.
Provision. God will provide. I'm a witness. I'm a witness. I need God to do something right now. Let's be transparent. It's going to take big. I always say this too. It's going to take big girl money to do what I need God to do now. I don't have the big girl money right now, but I know who does.
But I know who does.
Yes.
My father.
I'm just standing on His word. So thank you again. I just love y'all so much. I just love y'all.
Thank you so much.
Blessings to you, Michelle. And I pray that book continues on. It's a bestseller. It's already a bestseller, but it's going to be a super bestseller.
Thank you.
And I want my copy, or I want to.
Okay. I will get autographed copies. I promise.
All right.
Michelle, any last words?
You know, all I was thinking while you were talking is, when you walk in your purpose, God will provide.
He will provide.
He will provide. So you got to take that step first, and the floor will meet your foot.
Ooh, I love that. The floor will meet your foot. I got to write that down. The
floor will meet your foot.
The floor will meet your foot.
I love that.
Well,
but you got to take the first step. You got to have enough courage to lift that foot up and take a step.
I love it.
Because the floor will meet it. I promise you.
The floor will meet your foot.
The floor will meet your foot.
I'm going to give you credit the first time.
All right.
I'm going to give you credit the first time.
Yes, yes.
If you ever hear from a pulpit. If you ever hear from the pulpit.
Right.
Well, again, it's been a wonderful show. A great time. I've enjoyed it. Enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for the shout out talking about the Kaizen. And I just want to do that. And I don't do this often enough, probably. It's just telling people, just make sure you connect with me for your retirement, your insurance needs. Let's have a conversation about it. And if I don't have what you need, I will point you in the right direction.
Yes.
But the one thing that you are going to get from me is you're going to get integrity. You're going to get honesty.
Amen.
And you're going to know exactly what is what. I will educate you and let you make the best decision for yourself. And that's what I do. And so make sure you go to TonyJacksonAppointment.com, schedule that appointment. God just continues to bless us with just super, super guests each and every week that come and pour in so much. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing. So with that, everybody have a wonderful night. Be safe, love on your family, and we'll see you next week.
Amen.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye, beautiful people.
Bye.